COVID-19 cases exceeded the limit of 500,000 cases in Argentina. In the United States, the COVID-19 infection tally raised to over 6.3 million. In Egypt, the treatment using plasma against COVID-19 from recovered patients offered hope to the population. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Laura Palmeiro. COVID-19 cases exceeded the limit of 500,000 cases in Argentina on Tuesday. In the context of increasing openness of activities, strongly driven by entrepreneurs and a sector of the population protesting against confinement, the number of infections reached 500,000 and 21 more than the 12,000 were added in the last 24 hours. According to the Ministry of Health of Argentina, which has more than 40 million inhabitants. Deaths reached 10,405 after registering this Tuesday the 228 deaths, although the lethality rate is still among the lowest in the region. In Bolivia, the Attorney General Juan Lanchipa Ponce informed this Tuesday that the public ministry will make accusations against those persecuted over the case of the purchase with extra charge of 170 Spanish ventilators.
It has been arranged through the Institute of Technical and Scientific Research of the Police Academy and expertise of the funds of all persons involved, and we are waiting for the results. Also, it has been settled down the investigations over the declarations corresponding to the Spanish servers Paul Sarsadenas, manager of the GPA Innova, and Iñaki Garcia from the IME Consulting Company. Furthermore, according to the report that we have received from the Committee on Taxation, we can point out that the investigations are almost completed. Thus, the public ministry will be in conditions to present a prosecutor's accusation, legitimate to enter a trial phase.
And in Venezuela this Tuesday, President Nicolás Maduro chaired the launch of the Darío Vivas National Election Campaign Team ahead of the parliamentary elections of December 6. The event was also attended by First Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, Venezuelan Vice President for Communication and National Assembly candidate Jorge Rodriguez, and other political figures. Rodriguez noted that 554 candidates will run for the Great Patriotic Pole Electoral Alliance, while highlighting that never before in the political history of Venezuela has such a level of participation been achieved as a result of agreements established with different political and social sectors of the country. Meanwhile, President Maduro stressed that the December vote fulfilled the constitutional mandate to hold elections to the National Assembly. In Colombia, protesters gathered in front of the headquarters of the International Red Cross in Bogotá to demand its mediation with the government of Iván Duque to address the humanitarian crisis and violence that the country continues to suffer. Various social organizations and human rights defenders installed a humanitarian camp for life at the site and demanded compliance with the implementation of programs and mechanisms to guarantee social rights and peace across the country. The mobilization seeks to denounce the increase of massacres and assassinations in the country throughout this year, as well as the non-compliance with the peace agreements by the national government, which has led to the wave of violence, forced displacement, and social crisis. Peruvian health authorities have conducted a door-to-door campaign in order to test residents in the capital Lima for the novel coronavirus. Meanwhile, the total number of confirmed cases has surpassed 691,000, representing the fifth highest figure in the world.
We cannot let our guard down now. We need to keep looking for respiratory symptoms to be able to really establish this curve and the plateau, which is what we want to reach, and a decrease of cases. What we want is to identify them early. We don't want them to get complicated or end up in hospital. I am here in my home and I avoid It has to be really urgent for me to go out, but I don't go out anymore because I have already lived through the experience. This seems to be a good thing because it has already been done before to avoid further contact.
Business owners have resumed operations in Guatemala's colonial city of Antigua under strict COVID-19 preventive measures. Guatemala has reported over 77,000 coronavirus cases and almost 3,000 deaths.
If I say it was 100%, I would be lying. I'm saying it was 200%. Why? If you walk around the city, you will notice that hotels, restaurants and business that closed for that long couldn't handle the change of paths and folded. Let's call it a heart attack, but the body can withstand several heart attacks and we can walk again. We go back to work.
We must have a change of clothes when we arrived, a change of clothes when we leave, our mask, a face shield, apply alcohol gel when we start, have a temperature check, and we have to be washing our hands constantly. They even take our temperature every 120 minutes to make sure we're in good health.
Mexico's National Electoral Institute has rejected the registration of 3 civil groups that intended to form a political party. The issue has generated multiple reactions, and we have more details in the following report by our correspondent Eduardo Martinez.
For a large number of Mexicans, the public resources that each year are destined to the 7 political parties that exist in this country are excessive. A bag of 5,239 million pesos was distributed, about $242 million.
It is really a business to have a political party here in Mexico. They are giving a lot of money and hardly do a few things.
Despite these opinions, the National Electoral Institute admitted a new party while rejecting 3 other applications, including the one filed by former President Felipe Calderón and his wife, Margarita Zavala, who are seeking registration for Free Mexico.
We don't need any more parties. I think it's enough with the ones that already exist. It is better that the money that they were going to use for this new party is used for the pandemic vaccines. It is more necessary.
The first one to react to the refusal of the electoral body was Zavala, who announced through a video in social media that they will begin a process of impugnation before the Electoral Tribunal.
For days, we had warned about the government's strategy to close the door on Free Mexico, and we know the reason. Free Mexico is becoming the real opposition that Mexico so badly needs.
Free Mexico, as the organization of the Calderón-Zavala marriage is known, would have committed irregularities in the collection of 8.2% of its income. For that same reason, because of the opacity in its accounts, the National Electoral Institute have already found it previously. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador addressed the issue in his weekly briefing.
I attribute this to the new circumstances, to the force of the public opinion, to the change in the way people think. I believe this is the truth of the people of Mexico.
Among an important sector of the population, signatures are already collected to support a petition for a popular referendum to indeed former presidents, and Calderón might be taken to court.
Calderón has pending issues due to decisions made from the public power. For example, in this war strategy, the fundamental strategist was Genaro Garcia Luna, Secretary of Public Security. Today, he is a prisoner in the United States accused of drug trafficking.
In the midst of this dispute, the National Electoral Institute raised a flag for what it has described as the largest electoral process in the country's history. On June 6, 2021, 95 million Mexicans will vote to elect 500 federal deputies, 15 governors, and to form local congresses and town halls in 30 states.
Eduardo Martinez, TeleSUR, Ciudad de México.
Thank you, Eduardo. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, the COVID-19 infection tally raised this Tuesday to over 6.3 million. The balance offered by the Johns Hopkins University on Tuesday's evening reported over 25,000 new infections, amounting 6,325,557 COVID-19 cases since the beginning of the pandemic, which has turned to be a public threat worse than expected by governmental authorities. Meanwhile, the death tally stands at 189,557, being New York the state with the major cases of COVID-19 deaths, with 33,100, which is over the records of hard-hit countries such as Spain and France. UK-based drug maker AstraZeneca has suspended trials of a coronavirus vaccine candidate after a participant in the UK arm of a study suffered a suspected serious adverse reaction. According to a company spokesperson, the volunteer fell ill with an unexplained illness. The vaccine, which is developing with the University of Oxford, is being trialed on volunteers across the world. Meanwhile, the company has initiated standard protocols to review the clinic trials and minimize the potential impact. If it proved effective, the COVID-19 vaccine was scheduled to enter the market in early 2021. It is worth noting that Argentinian and Mexican authorities had already agreed with AstraZeneca to manufacture and distribute the vaccine across South America. Health authorities in the United Kingdom have warned of a sharp surge in COVID-19 cases, while also announcing a tightening of local restrictions in the northwestern English city of Bolton.
Yes, this does break international law in a very specific and limited way. We are taking the power to disapply the EU law concept of direct effect required by Article 4 in a certain very tightly defined circumstances. There are clear precedents for the UK and indeed other countries needing to consider their international obligations as circumstances change. The UK internal market legislation that we will bring forward this week delivers on our commitment to legislate for unfettered access, something Northern Ireland businesses have consistently asked us to do and to ensure that we deliver certainty. This will give the certainty that the people and businesses, the economy of Northern Ireland has been asking for.
A British government minister admitted Tuesday that plans not to apply parts of the European Union divorce deal relating to Northern Ireland break international law, but only in tightly defined circumstances. Northern Ireland Secretary Brandon Lewis was speaking in Parliament about legislation due to be published on Wednesday that will include attempts to clarify how last year's withdrawal agreement with Brussels is implemented. Details of the proposal have caused concern among EU leaders, just as the Brexit trade talks resumed, as well as calls for London to honor its international treaty commitments. Lewis insisted Britain was fully committed to implementing the protocol on Northern Ireland, which will see the occupied 6 counties continue to follow certain EU rules in order to keep the land border open with the Republic of Ireland.
Yes, this does break international law in a very specific and limited way. We are taking the power to disapply the EU law concept of direct effect required by Article 4 in a certain very tightly defined circumstances. There are clear precedents for the UK and indeed other countries needing to consider their international obligations as circumstances change. The UK internal market legislation that we will bring forward this week delivers on our commitment to legislate for unfettered access, something Northern Ireland businesses have consistently asked us to do and to ensure that we deliver certainty. This will give the certainty that the people and businesses, the economy of Northern Ireland has been asking for.
Swedish health authorities have assured that the COVID-19 situation in the country is improving, while warning that the upcoming autumn and winter season could pose new challenges for the country.
I would say the situation is improving. We've had a decline in the spread of the disease since before summer, and a very rapid decline, I would say, all over the country. So we're down to rather low figures, lower than in the majority of the countries in the European Union at present. But we've tried to follow a path where we have had the same messages coming through from the authorities all over the long period of time. Try to educate the people, try to make the people responsible for their own actions, to inform them about the risks, inform them about hygiene, about social distancing, etc.
United Nations authorities have explained how the general debate on the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly will be conducted, set to begin September 22nd.
The 75th session will start through a hybrid mode, both virtually and also in person. We've been able to, during the period, have very interesting and important elections. And this year, this will happen in that most delegations will be led by heads of state and government from afar. And statements can be read by permanent representatives because it's not a fully virtual meeting, because it was a hybrid meeting.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov noted that Moscow is prepared to help ease tensions in the eastern Mediterranean during a joint press conference with his Cypriot counterpart this Tuesday. Tensions are running high over Turkey's maritime drilling activities, which Cyprus and its ally Greece say violate their sovereignty.
Russia considers that any further escalation would be unacceptable and calls on all parties to settle all conflicts exclusively through dialogue and on the basis of international law. We are ready to provide assistance to set up this dialogue if asked by the parties. I express the gratitude of Cyprus for the stable support of Russia for the attempts to find viable and functional solutions. I informed him about the latest developments and especially the provocative announcements and threats of Turkey.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Egypt, the treatment using plasma against COVID-19 from recovered patients offers hope to the population. The Northeast African country launched a campaign calling on the more than 78,000 recovered COVID-19 patients to donate their blood plasma. According to health authorities, eligible donors must be between 18 and 60 years old, weigh at least 50 kilograms, and have produced antibodies whose quality must reach a predefined level. To date, more than 200 people have joined the campaign by donating their plasma to patients participating in the trial. According to the director of the National Blood Transfusion Center of Egypt, Inhab Sera Heldin, the institution still does not have data revealing the success rate of the plasma project in Egypt. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has reported 113 cases of Ebola and 50 deaths since the latest outbreak of the disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in June. The United Nations Office noted that 107 cases were confirmed, while 6 were probable cases. Meanwhile, a warning was issued in the Makansa health zone due to its proximity to 3 health zones already affected by the disease. Health authorities have noted that over 27,000 people have been vaccinated, while calling for the observance of preventive measures to curb the spread of the virus disease. The Democratic Republic of the Congo's 11th Ebola virus disease outbreak was announced on June 1, 2020, after a cluster of cases was detected in the Mbandaka area of Equator province. Data released from South Africa's Statistics Agency has shown that the economy contracted by 51% in the second quarter of 2020 as the country continues to battle the coronavirus, sparking further concern among citizens.
Because of some of our people are not working, some have lost their job, so even our economy, it is still down because of the lockdown. It cost us too much because of it went to almost 5 to 6 months. So it's going to be difficult for us, most of people. Actually, we are...
But now, financially we're struggling. Most people have lost their jobs and companies have shut down. So with us, it's very difficult to say we've got any income because we've been on layoff. So since the lockdown has started, I don't see that getting any fix anytime soon from now on.
Because like you said, the economy is still recovering or is still going through this phase. So it's going to take a long time for people to actually have to drive employment again, for people to be able to sell their stuff normally or get back to the economic flow that they used to. Definitely going to get worse before it gets better.
100%.
Jordanian authorities have announced the resumption of operations at the Queen Alia International Airport following more than 5 months of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
3 flights will arrive in the first week, regular daily flights. The second week we will receive 6 regular daily flights, and this is in addition to the evaluation flights which will last until September 22nd. After September 22nd, the evaluation will continue to the countries that do not reach regular flights. Also, the preparations here look good. This area will receive passengers coming from green countries. The northern area from the airport will receive passengers arriving from yellow and red countries in order to have a separate path as much as we can.
Nigerian health authorities confirmed 296 new COVID-19 cases on Tuesday, pushing the total number to over 55,000. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirmed that the cases were recorded in 14 states of the Federation and in the capital Abuja. Meanwhile, the death toll climbed to 1,067 after 6 patients succumbed to the disease over the last 24 hours. The most affected areas by the virus in the country are the states of Plateau with 183 new cases, Lagos with 33 cases, and the Federal District with 25. Meanwhile, over 40,000 patients have recovered from the virus. Protesters gathered outside the courthouse in Algeria's capital, Algiers, this Tuesday to support independent journalist Khaled Dradreni, who had requested an appeal hearing over the 3-year prison sentence. Following his reporting on demonstrations demanding the resignation of former Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, in 2019 the journalist and 2 members of the opposition Hirak movement were found guilty in an incident to unarmed assembly and undermining national unity on August 10th. Dradreni founded the Kasbah Tribune news site on Word for French TV channel TV5 Monde, as well as for the NGO Reporters Without Borders. Protesters carried signs reading "Journalism is not a crime," while calling for his immediate release. A final verdict that case is said to be announced on September 15th. And we have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Laura Palmeiro. Thank you for watching.